Wait, wait,
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Let me unmute everybody if I can. How's everybody doing?
Been good. How are you?
Bobby, your beard is getting longer.
Yeah, I'm just letting it go. It's just growing. I'm just enjoying it.
I finally I could almost put a ponytail with the back of my hair the other day, and I talked my husband into just snipping the back, and it took like 30 minutes, what should have taken like 10 seconds, but he would go back and look, and then he'd look again. I'm just like, oh, just finish it. It doesn't matter.
I think I'm at
And
the
he's
point where I can put a ponytail in the back too. So
I think that's going to be the when we finally come out of our caves, everybody's going to look like a bunch of shaggy dogs. Katie, are you okay? Okay, I can't hear you. Do you not have a microphone?
Oh, can you hear me now?
There you go. I can hear you now.
Perfect.
Samantha, are you okay? Okay, I can't hear you either. Let me see if I can nope. You're unmuted. Maybe no. Yeah, now I can.
Okay, yeah.
There we go. So, Katie, you look like you're enjoying some pool time.
Yeah, I'm in the backyard because it's a pretty day out.
Ah,
It's my mom's
nice.
Mexico theme backyard.
Nice.
Yeah.
We are, our neighbors here in town have a pool, so we go over there every once in a while. We haven't been this year.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of days where we were like, let's go jump in.
It's
But
still kind of cold. Like we got in it yesterday.
Yeah,
it was chilly.
Yeah, weren't there some colder days not too long ago? It seems like.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, rained. Well, it rained here.
Then there was one day, probably before I came in and went to a meeting, and Bryn and I went out and walked on campus, and I was like, okay, slow down. I can't walk this. I mean, it was just hot and humid.
Yeah.
It was awful. So we'll wait a few minutes, and hopefully some more folks will join us. If you need to, you can certainly chat. So I've got that open so that everybody can chat with everybody. You guys all got an email about this last week, right? Did you get it? I know I sent one today, but you'd already gotten one. Okay. When I pulled it back up to resend it, it didn't look like it had sent out. And I was like, uh-oh, but I think we're good. I guess maybe while we're waiting on on other folks, any questions or issues with the book report? Everybody feeling pretty good about it?
Yeah, I have one question.
Okay.
For the criticism part, it says
Whoa. Hang on.
okay.
I'm sorry. I think I accidentally muted you when I meant to unmute you.
It's
so
okay.
Go back.
Okay. So on the criticism, and it says like an argument within the book. Is that? I just feel like in the book I read, there's really not an argument about anything, like anything being biased.
Yeah. Let me. Where on the instructions are you looking? Let me just read what I just want to make sure I.
The logic of argument under criticism.
Is it on what page? Give me a page.
Page 3.
Okay. Okay. Oh, logic of argument. And I think what it's talking about there is whatever the point of your book is, the theme and the thesis kind of collectively, when the author gives examples of maybe something he or she is trying to explain, are those logical, and do they help explain
Okay.
what the author's talking about?
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. I was just kind of confused on like.
Yeah, if I were to have written in a book, my experience as a college teacher is that students should come to class, and then I might say, I could demonstrate that students who came to class had higher grades, they were more engaged with the material. And then, so I'm asking you, if I wrote that, to say, does my argument for my statement that students should come to class, is that a logical thing?
Okay.
I mean, does my example of why I think they should come to class, is that logical? I guess that's the best way of saying it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
I
Yeah,
would-
so again, like if you read the end of that, it talks about the facts to back them up.
Mhm.
So again, my saying students are more engaged, they ask more questions, they have better course grades. Those are the facts that would back up my statement, students should come to class.
Okay.
Bobby, did you have something else?
Yeah, so I was looking for book reviews over like
Mhm.
HBR's like top 10 smart decisions, and I found
Mhm.
one good source
Okay.
for the reviews, but everything else is like goodreads.com or amazon.com. Like I couldn't find anything that wasn't from like, an actual
like that.
credible source. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I wasn't going to say it, but I knew that there was one book that it was harder to find those types of things. So you can use that. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah,
So use
because I know
use the
you.
better one for sure.
Yeah, I used one source that I did find. I think it was like a .org, and it was like a blog about someone who did book reviews. That was a .org.
Okay.
I used that one automatically, and then I was searching for a second one that should have been like similar to that, but everything I found was Amazon.com and stuff like that. So
Same.
Okay.
I used the
And
Amazon
that's
one. I didn't know if it would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's not ideal, but I knew that there was one book that it was a little bit more difficult to find stuff on. So what about everyone else? Anyone else have
Wait, what
questions
website
about-
did you use? What website did you use? Because I'm still struggling to find one.
It was like Bob Morris .biz or .org or something like that, and he or she did book reviews, and I found it for HBR's top 10 reads on making smart decisions. That was the book I did. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm also having a hard time finding one for the HBR, the Essentials. And so, like Bob said, I was looking at the Goodreads reviews, and it has both favorable and unfavorable reviews.
Yeah.
I didn't know if anyone had suggestions for that one.
Yeah, I would say that you use that, and I think that's actually kind of good because it's got favorable and unfavorable. So I think it's good to see kind of both. And again, if you think back to what I said whenever I said it about why I'm having to do this, it's to read a book to get you thinking forward into being a lifelong learner. And so if you were to find a book, in 5 years or next year or whatever, you would potentially want to see both the good and the bad that people have said about them. So that's fine. And in fact, that's ideal, honestly, that you see. So many book reviews seem to be just positive, but it's good if you can find some things that aren't just 100% positive. So those will work. Brittany, did you have a question? You look like you wanted to say something, but then. No,
No, you
did it-
answered my question. Yeah.
Okay. So Isabel, where are you?
I'm here in College Station.
Okay.
So I'm just chilling,
Okay. Now, from a student perspective, what are the rumors out there? Of course, it doesn't really affect you. I just was curious. Are there any rumors out there about what classes are going to do in the fall? Have y'all heard anything?
I heard that everything basically is going to go online in the fall, like that.
Even?
Even like
Okay.
thing, like up until
Okay.
2021, like spring.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Right. That's what I've
Wow,
heard.
wow, wow, wow.
But I've heard it. I don't know it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? It'll be interesting to see how all of this sort of ends up panning out, and I hope that once they sort of start lifting stuff, people are still pretty careful and kind
Conscious.
of don't go crazy, and then we have a big spike, and then it gets worse, or who knows. So
I'm not going nowhere.
yeah, I've already told my parents, I was like, I don't care if they lift this, you don't need to go anywhere. We will send you groceries. We will have them delivered. Or I think they live up in Denton, so I think they can. There's some hours that there's a Sam's Club up there that they can they can just drive up, hand someone a list and their Sam's card, and then they'll deliver them to them. So
Yeah.
they're
Usually,
funny though.
I know HEB does like next day delivery for free, like a free charge. So like you can go online, order your groceries. Chances are, like I did that for like the pickup, like curbside pickup, but they didn't have a lot of the stuff that I ordered because obviously everything.
I was gonna ask. That's what happened to me. I did it one time at Kroger, just like, okay, let's just see how this works. And man, it was just letting me order up a storm. And then the day the guy was pulling stuff off, it's like, oh, we don't have that. Oh, we don't have that.
Usually, like,
it was like
they're like, okay, this is like
$60 worth of stuff they didn't have.
Yeah, like subs and stuff. Like, oh, we didn't have this type of bread. You want this type of bread, type of thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
HEB guy was really nice. I ordered dog food. I was freaking out because I couldn't find dog food, and I was just like freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, like my dog needs food. And it was like towards the beginning, and he was so nice. He brought out the last thing of dog food for me.
Oh, like, well, there you go.
Yeah, he was like, I think I saw one more. I was like,
yeah,
you're an angel.
Well, do you think we should get going, or you want to wait? Should we wait 5 minutes? That will be quote unquote class time. Actually, let's wait. I still see people coming, joining. So
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When I'm citing sources, should I use APA or MLA?
APA.
Okay.
Yep. And then I've had a couple of people that have said that they had their book on Kindle, and that I guess they wanted to cite something, and Kindle doesn't have page numbers. So I think it'll be good if you can at least cite the chapter you're coming from. If you can't cite the actual page number.
I'm on a Kindle, and you can do the page numbers. It's just it may not be accurate as to where exactly the quote is coming from, because like, you can adjust your text and everything. But I still put page numbers because, I mean, would you rather me put the chapter?
Do all Kindles have page numbers, or it sounds like some of them don't? I don't know.
It's a setting. You have to go in and put the setting, but like I said, it's not the exact. It probably isn't the exact page because all the pages are shifted on there.
Yeah, and it wouldn't necessarily be what's in the book probably either.
Yeah. So, would you rather me put the chapter numbers?
Either one. I mean, the people who were asking me had absolutely no page numbers, so the next best thing I thought was to just tell me what chapter it came out of, because if I or someone else wanted to see it, that they could actually do that.
Gotcha.
Go to the chapter. Yeah.
So, Dr. Sandler?
Yep.
Oh, so I had a question involving the page numbers. So I actually listened to the audiobook on Audible. Would you like me to cite the chapters or do timestamps?
You'll have to do chapters, because, I mean, I would never do a timestamp or whatever. So just chapter number.
Okay.
Isabel, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
There you
I have
go.
a question.
Yep.
Where is the article on eCampus? I've been trying to find it for kind of a second now, but the G article that you said?
Oh, it was the one. It was the one that went with the video for action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it was the education in rural jails.
There it is. Okay.
Yep, it was the one that was the. Yeah, it was the one that was the
one with the
voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah. If you just joined us, we're going to kind of wait till class time. So if you have any questions about the book report, a handful of people have asked those types of questions. So this is a good time to ask if you need to. If you don't have a microphone, you can also use the chat function. So I can read if you type in a question. And actually, the first thing that I'm going to do is talk about the research on jobs paper. So if you have those instructions, you can grab those. So the book report again is due, what, is it tomorrow at 10? Is that right?
Yep.
That sounds right. Okay, so just be sure, you know, you don't dance around that time, that deadline and have a problem. So, you know, set yourself a deadline of 8 o'clock tonight, or I don't know, something like that, so you don't have a problem. For the research on jobs, instead of me just reading those instructions to you, let me give you some background on kind of where this assignment came from. Through the years, I have talked to a number of CEOs, COOs, you know, people high up in companies, and asked, you know, if you had an intern, what would make someone come in and be successful on the very first day? And 95% of them have said things like, I want someone to come in, I need to be able to hand them a job and then them go do it. And so, I mean, we've already said, you know, you can't have learned everything you need to know about tech management or HRD during your time here. But hopefully what we have given you is a very broad base knowledge in whichever major you're in, but also the fact that you can take instructions and then run with them. So for example, you know, I've talked to people and they're like, you know, I need to be able to give someone the task of, you know, give me 4 different ways companies are doing their cost benefit analysis and what are they looking at. And so they need the person, the intern, to go do that and not ask 50,000 trillion questions, but actually just be able to go do that. Because at some point, if you continue to go back to the person who gave you the task, at some point, it's really not worth them having given it to you, because they just may as well do it because of all the questions that you're asking. That sort of makes sense, okay? So I'm gonna give you what happens normally and then what we're gonna do this semester, because we're not in a normal situation. So generally speaking, by now, most of you have secured an internship that you will start in either the summer or the spring, and you will have a supervisor. And what generally I tell you to do is go talk to your supervisor and ask him or her, you know, what are some of the things that I'm going to be doing in this internship? And then what you do for this project is you go research those things that your supervisor says. So I'm going to use the example, and it's the one I use every semester, that your supervisor tells you that you are going to be onboarding new employees. So one of the first stops a new employee comes to, the first day of work, is they come see you, and you have to help them fill out their government paperwork. So that's like an I-9. And so I've had students say, we can't have them with the I-9. Yes, you're correct. You can't fill it out for them and all those things. But if they have questions about it, you need to know something about I-9s so that you can, in fact, help them. Not that you would fill it out for them or any of those things, but you would need to know enough about what is an I-9 and what is someone who is filling out an I-9, what are they actually telling the government? And so you would need to be able to explain that. So, you know, if we were in the classroom and you went to your supervisor and he or she said, you're going to be doing onboarding, and one of those things will be, you know, helping people fill out that I-9, then for this paper, you would go research, what is an I-9? How do you fill it out? How is it properly filled out? How is it improperly filled out? And then that's what you would write about in this assignment. So I think what I ask you to do in here is come up with about a minimum of 3, so 3 to 4 things that you would be doing in your internship. So this semester we're going to change it because things are sort of in a fluid scenario. Instead of your paper being specific to what you are going to do, what I want you to write about are, in your ideal job or in your ideal internship, what area of HRD or tech management are you interested in? And then what are some aspects of that area of HRD and tech management that you would like to find yourself doing in a job or internship scenario? So what you'll see on this looks like a lot of instructions, but it's not really a lot of instructions. A lot of it has to do with HR, on the second page, HR organizations, and then just it's not all-inclusive list, but it does walk you through a lot of the types of jobs that some of our interns have done before. And then if you go to the 3rd and 4th pages, these are some of the tasks that we've had TCM folks work on. So this is a list that sort of hopes to guide you into the types of things that you would write in this research on jobs paper. Okay, so again, it's 3 to 5 pages, Times New Roman, 12-point font, use APA referencing, 1-inch margins, and instead of this being specific to your internship, it's just going to be what would be the ideal job that you have, or maybe some of you even have jobs lined up and you know what they are. I mean, if that's the case, you can actually reach out to a supervisor and see, and then write about that in this paper. So let me stop and let folks ask questions as needed. So again, if something happens, I can't hear you, type something in the chat and I will see it.
So just pick. So we just pick 3 of the job task and then just kind of evaluate like what exactly it is.
Yeah.
Budget, and then.
Yeah. So again, the I-9 is an example on here.
Hmm.
So on this paper, if that's what you're going to do, what is the I-9? What information does the I-9 provide the government? What happens as a result of how a new employee fills out the I-9? You know, and are there rules and regulations that you as an HR person can or can't do with regard to helping someone do that? And you guys know I'm not a big fan of quoting, so put everything into your own words. You know, I don't want to open this up for you and it's like copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. No. Okay, and I want to say, I'd have to look back, but I think these are due, this and your research proposal are due a week from Friday, which is May 1st at 10 a.m. So questions about the research on jobs? Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so for my internship, I know I've spoke to you on it. Would it be okay if I were to write about tasks like internal audit within HR? And because I remember we had to do an assignment, I believe whenever we were actually citing sources, I did that over, you know, things that would be in my internship. I found a good amount of stuff about, you know, training effectiveness and stuff like that, and like auditing trainings. Would that be, would I be able to write about that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I really want this to be as functional and helpful as it can be for you,
Mhm.
so that it's, if maybe it's, because of the situation we're in, maybe it's not going to end up turning up in your internship. But at least if it's something that you are actually interested in doing when you get out, then yeah, I want this to be something you gain some knowledge on. So the first day you hit the ground, you're able to do at least 3 things if you pick the right 3 things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Other,
Jimmy Rand. Hey, so with my internship, it was just pushed back until the shutdown ends. So with that being said, could I still do like the initial project instead of having to pick like a different thing to write about? If that makes sense.
yeah, and let me just say a couple of comments about that. And this goes to everybody, not just Jimmy, but we're, and I think I've talked about this, but we're working within the department to offer an alternative to your face-to-face internships, because the university has basically said that we can't let you guys do that. So what a lot of people are, I think what you guys all have to think about is, do I want to graduate in August and then get on with my life? Or is this internship so special that you're willing to not do anything, maybe get a regular job this summer and then do that internship in the fall? The thing that you said, Jimmy, though, that worries me a little bit is that if you say, well, I'm going to wait, and then everything sort of opens up the middle of July, you're still having to wait till the fall to do this internship, because these internships start the end of May. So just something to think about. But to answer your question, yeah, if you have an internship lined up and you're willing to, either you're going to be able to do it remotely, or you're going to wait till September to start it, or whatever, or end of August, yeah, that's fine. You can certainly use the tasks that you were supposed to do, for sure.
Sweet,
Did
thank
that
you.
help?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So were you thinking that if things open up in July, you would be able to start then? Or you were just saying, like, you would push it off till September?
I'm pretty sure that it's not going to start anytime soon, and I don't even think it'll start in the summer. But I think it would just look good on me if like I did it for them, and like on my first day I already have some like upper hand.
Right. Yeah. I just want people to, I don't know. It's all totally all up to you and your parents and whoever your resources are. But if you're worried about graduating because you don't have an internship this summer, there's going to be something that we're going to offer you to do for that 6-hour credit. And then after that, you may end up going into a job that this employer calls an internship, and then hopefully you do a great job, and then you get hired and life is good. But there will be a way for you to graduate in August if you want to.
Do we need to reach out and like let you know that our internship has been canceled, or can we just do the alternative?
Well, let me back up. So next Wednesday, there's a meeting, and I don't know exactly what time. I don't have my calendar right here, but there is a meeting for summer interns and fall interns. And you should have gotten something from either Bryn or Dr. Fowler about that. And so just be sure that you attend that so that you'll know. I don't really know what they want you to tell them. I'm not really part of that, so I don't know who you need to tell that to. So, does anyone else know?
Probably just Dr. Fowler.
Dr. Fowler, that's what I would guess. If she's in charge of it, that's what I would guess.
Do you think
Okay.
it would be?
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you think it would be dumb to do both? Because I'm trying to graduate, but like also this opportunity is such like too good of an opportunity to pass up.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't think you're the only one that's in that boat. So no, I don't think it's stupid to try to do both. I mean, the alternative one is not going to be 40 hours a week. We know that. But it's not going to be 0 either.
Yeah.
So you just have to
Talk to my
play
supervisor.
with, yeah, I mean, I think after hours and weekends, I think you'll be able to do the alternative stuff for sure.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on research on jobs?
So it's just 3, or you said
Yeah,
3,
3 to 5 things, but it's 3 to
5
5
things.
pages.
So 3 things for 3 to 5 pages.
Correct.
Got it.
So,
Hey,
and we can pick, sorry. And we can pick anything
That
that
you
we
want to do.
want. It doesn't like
Yep.
have to apply to an internship. It can just be something that we think we might, like a task that we might have to perform in the future.
Hey, I just got a text that they need me in our main office, so I'm going to be right back. You guys can chit chat. I'll be right back.
I am nervous about this writing. Ooh. Let's see. What's this? Hey Robert, did you find a theme for the overall book? Did you just like pick a theme that you found consistent throughout the book, and then you just support that theme?
Yeah,
Or
so
how did you do that?
so I read the book, and then like there's several topics the authors cover, and then I just kind of like pieced it all together and then wrote about it. So just kind of like what the authors were trying to say throughout the book is kind of what I put as the theme. So
Yeah.
Please
So
tell
I
me
was-
I'm the only one that hasn't finished.
Mm-mm,
No.
I haven't finished.
I finished the book, but I haven't finished like writing the paper.
Yeah, that's what I meant, like the paper.
Yeah.
Started the paper.
We don't need outside references for this, right? Or is that in the critiques?
I think we need to
We need an outside reference, I think, for like the author's like biography.
Okay, yeah, no, that's what I saw too, but
And
not
there-
like anything scholarly because it's a biography.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you also have to list outside references for the reviews, and you can't use like Amazon.
Which, girl,
well, I think she changed it. I think for some of them that if you can't find like sources that you can use like Goodreads.com or something like that. That's what she was saying earlier. So
who read the one
For which part? For the
for the reviews.
at the beginning.
The
Okay.
bottom.
No, at the very bottom, the last section.
That's why I didn't ring a bell. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
Did you guys write like a page for each like section, like a page for analysis and then a page for like criticism, or did you guys have like different sizes of pages and just made it all into like 5 pages in total?
My identification was pretty big, long.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, can we do that, or does she want like at least a page for everything?
I don't know. My conclusion is only 3 paragraphs, but then my
Your what is 3 paragraph?
conclusion is 3 paragraphs, but my criticism is like a page and a half.
Yeah, I think it all just depends on how much you put, like you think should be in there, and like if it answers the question like fully and in depth.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
Yeah,
this-
agreed.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I was asking
someone-
like, do you need 1 page for each section? That's what I was asking
No,
everybody,
it's
or is it like?
It's continuous.
yeah,
Like finish a section, next heading, keep writing. So do not divide it, page for this, page for that, page for this, page for that.
Got it. Okay.
And then someone said I might go over 5 pages. Well, 5 pages is the minimum. So yeah, so if you go over, that's fine, but a minimum of 5 pages. Okay. They were having a conference call in there, and they were talking about the alternate internship. So Dr. Torres was on the phone and had some questions for me. So sorry about that. Any questions on research on jobs? And we can circle back around to this as needed. Okay. The next thing the other thing that I want us to do is look at the needs assessment instructions. So if you have those in front of you, and then if you do have that G article, which is the action article that I did the voiceover for, and then I say I know we did this, but every semester, the very first day, I bring in some examples of the research proposals. So I will talk about some things and just go write down these instructions, and then refer to the G article, and then show you in an example of what I'm talking about and what it should look like. Okay, so let's just start at the top of the instructions, and you can ask questions as you feel like you would like to. Again, the paper is Times New Roman, 12-point font, 1-inch margin, APA. You can have a cover page if you want to. I'm not super worried about that. So the one that I just held up for you did have one. I'm not worried about that. The first thing that I see could just look like this, and that's fine. Okay. I, as you know, am not a fan of quoting, so I don't think that you should really have any quotes in here. Just put everything in the work, all the work of others into your own words, and you'll be fine. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, which is what you see, and I'll hold this up again, at the top of the first page that I see is the abstract. By definition, an abstract just summarizes what's going on in this proposal. As it turns out, is probably what you will write last. So even though it's the first thing the reader sees, you'll probably actually write it last. So, and I can hold it up again if I need to, but abstract is centered. And then I'm looking at the instructions. So abstract is centered on the top of that first page. And then you go do a regular double space, and then you provide your abstract around 100 to 150 words that summarizes what you're doing. So if you need a good abstract in the G article, he provides a good abstract about what his research was. Now, what you're writing is a research proposal, so you're going to be talking in future tense. So you might want to jot that down. So the closest thing kind of that you did for me that is near this is the quantitative data collection, which you turned in after spring break. So since we've been in this scenario, and if you remember with that, you wrote that in past tense because before spring break, you collected data. So when you wrote something about your participants, you said participants were because you actually had them. You'll be using future tense here, and so I might hear things like participants will be because you're talking about what you would be doing in the future. And let me just also clarify another thing. And again, you can write things down, ask questions as needed, but generally speaking, this proposal is specific to your internship. So again, by now, all of you would have an internship. You have a supervisor. You talk to them about what are some jobs I'm going to be doing, and then is there a question or a problem or a process that you want me to collect data to answer for this company? So that's the ideal thing. But let me give you a couple examples, which I probably used at the beginning of the semester that would be true now. Let's say, and we've had students go do this. They've gone into their internship site, and their supervisor wants them to change how they do their training of new employees. So now they're taking 4 days to do face-to-face meetings with all the new employees, and let's say they do that once a month. So what the supervisor wants you to do is take some of this face-to-face time and create some online instruction. And so maybe the last, so you're working on that, and they continue to do this 4 days of face-to-face. So at the end of the 4 days, they give these people some test to see if they understand what this training was about. So what you end up doing is taking 2 of the 4 days and put them online, and then 2 of the days are face-to-face. So your supervisor wants you to see, is your hybrid training equal to the true face-to-face training? And what would we want? We would want there to be equal scores on this test that is given at the end of the training. And so we've had students that actually went into companies and did that. So do you understand kind of what student then wrote in their proposal about was, they were going to try to see if hybrid training was as effective as fully face-to-face training. Okay, so everybody needs to start thinking again, not only for the research on jobs, what area of HRD do you want to go into, or TCM. So without you actually having a supervisor, you're going to have to come up with a research question. And I can help you along with that. And again, normally this is related to your internship, but since we're in a little different scenario, you'll have to come up with a scenario that you want to try to write a proposal about. So let me stop right there before we even move on. I probably should have said that first, but questions about you doing that? And if you need me to, you can shoot me an email and I can help you sort of form that if I need to.
So the proposal is going to be over the question that we come up with. So
right.
Like you said.
So normally a supervisor says, Katie, I want you to change our 4 days of face-to-face training to 2 days of face-to-face and 2 days of online. So the question there would be, is hybrid training, or does hybrid training result in the same amount of knowledge as face-to-face training?
Okay.
Yeah. So you get to, and so normally a supervisor gives that to you, but now you're going to be coming up with that question based on what your area of interest are within HRD or tech management.
So we're kind of creating our own proposal thing since we obviously can't go and do it. So
right.
We're going to be stating like how many participants we think would be in it, or
yeah, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I'll you kind of, I'll help you out with that. But
okay.
Where normally the day we talk about these instructions, I've already told students, go ask your supervisor, is there a project, a question, a procedure, a policy that you need to help them gather data on?
Gotcha.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
So now and I can help you, but don't wait till next Thursday to start asking me questions about it. Start now.
Yeah.
And get that book report done and then start tomorrow. I'll say that. Okay, so you got to kind of think along those lines. All right, so any questions about the abstract? From the instructions, here's an example of a proposal that has an abstract. The article itself has an abstract. So these are, and I'm using this G article because it's easy to read. And really, if you think about the type of research that you would be doing within a company, it truly is action research. You're answering a specific question for a specific company. Okay, everybody okay with the abstract? Good. Okay. What's going to happen then in your proposal? I'll hold this first page up. Let me hold it back. So the first page is just the abstract, and there's nothing else at the bottom of that page. So I'm going to flip. And now we're on the second page of your document, and at the top of the top heading is introduction. Okay, so I'll come back and show this to you in a minute, but I'm looking at the introduction on the instructions. So the first thing you see is introduction should be typed and centered at the first of the second page. Again, you start that new page, and from this point until the end of the body of your paper, it's just continuous writing. So you may have some headings in there, but that's fine. 5 to 7 paragraphs that give you some background information. And you guys we've talked about in class, or you've watched videos over quantitative research, qualitative research, and now action research. And they all start with an abstract. And then the next thing that you see is this review of literature. So you should be pretty well versed in what a review of literature, or I call it introduction, tells you about. Who remembers the geometric shape that is related to our, it's an inverted triangle. So, yeah, that way. Okay, so you start out real broad, and then you start narrowing the focus down. So if you can think back to really the only article we talked about face-to-face, which was the article about the amusement parks in Florida, and they were talking about hourly employees and why they stayed or didn't stay and what they felt about their job. You know, one of the first sentences in there is like, employees in the United States face a giant task keeping employees. I mean, that's super broad. And then they started narrowing the focus down to amusement park employees, and then they narrowed it down to hourly employees, etc. And so start out real broad, and then eventually you'll get to what is your statement of the problem. I would take notes on this. This area is where you can use a company's website. Okay, so let's say someone in here was hoping to work at Southwest Airlines. So they're going to write a proposal related to something within Southwest Airlines. And I encourage you to do that. You know, so pick a company that would be like your ideal company to do your internship with. And so here you can, you know, your first paragraph, in fact, might be about that company, and use their website to give you information. Because eventually we will talk about references here, and we've talked enough in here about the use of websites, and it's sort of very limited, I think, what website information you should include. So let me notice on the instructions, your introduction should be no less than 2 pages, up to about 2.5. So here's this is the introduction of the paper I've got. Again, introduction is centered at the top, a regular double space, and then here's some paragraphs about whatever this subject is. I go to page 2. Notice it's a full page 2. I go to the next page, and that's when you see the heading. Okay, so if you have a heading on the bottom of your second page of this, your introduction is too short. Okay, so 2 full pages, up to 2.5, and then you would go into the next heading, which is quantitative methodology. So questions about the introduction?
Yeah, I got
Again,
a question.
Go ahead.
So if the introduction, it cannot be more than 2 pages then, so that the heading is on the top of that next page?
No, it's minimum of 2 pages.
Gotcha.
But it can be 3 if you want to.
So for instance,
And I'll be honest with you, and I hate to do it this way, but I used to say just the 5 to 7 paragraphs, and then I ran into some knucklehead that got 5 paragraphs on 1 page.
No.
It was not good. They were not 5 good paragraphs. So then I had to, you know, again, I don't like doing it, but that's when I had to say 5 to 7 paragraphs in 2 to 2.5 pages. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, so if your introduction is 2.5 pages, your heading goes on the bottom of the second half of that third page, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and I'll show you in a minute what that looks like.
Sweet.
But yeah, so I'll just go. So even though the quantitative methodology happens to be at the top of this page, right here it says participants, and then the next one is instrument. So once you have a major heading, and then you're going to have, if you have minor headings, they just go on the next line, and then after this paragraph, the next heading comes on. So it doesn't go on a different page, etc. Okay. So to answer his question, yes, if your introduction goes 2.25 page, then right underneath that paragraph, centered is quantitative methodology, and then you start the next section, which we'll get to in just a second. But any questions about writing the introduction? If you look at the G article, I would say what this author says is the review of literature is in fact his introduction. And if you count the paragraphs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you go onto the second page, you know, that's the fifth paragraph of this person's, what he's calling review of literature. What I'm saying essentially is what I'm calling the introduction. And then notice at the end of that 5th paragraph, it says the current study investigates inmate perception of programs by directly inquiring about satisfaction levels. That's sort of their research question. That's what they're trying to do in their research. So at the end of your introduction, go ahead and include that statement of the purpose. What's the question? There's a number of ways. You can write it as a question. You can write it as a statement. Either way. So questions about the introduction. What's in it or how it's formatted. Right, okay, I don't see any or don't hear any. So we're going to go back to the instructions. And note the next thing that you're going to write about is the quantitative methodology. There's going to be 3 sections here, participants, instrument, and procedure. And the good thing is for the quantitative data collection that you did for me, you wrote a participant section. For the quantitative methodology, you wrote an instrument section. So you kind of know how to write those. So I'm just going to use as an example the 4 days of face-to-face training versus the hybrid method. So in your participants, you would write about probably taking information from the last 20 people who actually did the face-to-face training. And I'm making that 20 up. So whatever, you know, you'll probably have to make this up, but you know, don't make it 3. I mean, that's too low of a subject pool. So you can kind of make up numbers here, but so you're going to take the knowledge score from the last 20 participants who did the fully face-to-face training, and then you're going to take the knowledge scores of the first 20 who did the hybrid training. And so you can talk about how you selected them, what kind of sample it was. These are all things you've done already. Take some notes if you need to. Maybe what are some of the demographic, what are some demographic things you might look at with them? So age, gender, position at the company. So look back to what you wrote for me for our quantitative data collection. So questions of you guys about the participant section.
I have a question, Dr. Sandlin.
Okay.
For the participants section, if we don't have an internship, are we just kind of making this up?
Yeah, so what we said on research and jobs and the research proposal, since unless you're doing a true remote internship with a company, what I've asked you to do is to determine what area of HRD or tech management you're interested in, and what industry would you like to find yourself in. So that could be, you know, you could say training and development, and I want to be in a medical center. You could say onboarding, and I want to work for American Airlines. You could say recruiting, and I want to be in oil and gas. So again, the ideal scenario was that we would not be in a pandemic and you would have an internship in an area of HRD you're interested in, and a industry.
Okay.
Now we're not in that scenario, so you do get to make that up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else about participants? So again, I'm just looking at the instructions here. 3 to 5 sentences that describe subjects for your study. How will you get the subjects? How many will you have? What is the criterion for selection? So like when I can't remember what your data collection was, but I think one of the criterion was that they had to be employed. So you would talk about, you would get the last 20 employees at American Airlines that did the fully face-to-face training, and then the first 20 employees at American Airlines that did the hybrid training. And honestly, as long as you talk about having 30 or more employees total, your numbers are okay. Any other questions about participants? And again, on the G article, again, he's got a participant section, and you should, kind of glance at that, because at the end of that paragraph, he talks a little bit about the mean of something and the median of this or whatever. You know how to write that because you collected data, but for my assignment, you don't have the data, so you could write about the demographic stuff you're going to ask about, but you don't have any results because you actually haven't collected any data. Make sense? Everybody good? Move on. Okay.
So we make up
Next
numbers. Wait. So do we make up like participants' numbers and their demographics?
The number of participants, but you don't make up data because you haven't collected any data. So don't make up data.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because when you wrote your quantitative data collection, and when he was writing this, he had collected data. So he had the mean and whatever. You had the mean and whatever. You're not collecting any data for me. You're just talking about the data you would collect.
Got it. Okay.
Got it. Yep. Okay. The next section is an instrument. And so you do need to locate an instrument that you would potentially give to your participants. So a good example of an instrument is, let's say that your training dealt with teaching people about discrimination-free workplace. That's what you guys wrote your Qualtrics survey for me about. Is that right? Seems like is that right? Okay. So if that's what your training was about, then you would then write this instrument section about the number of questions. What did it measure? How do you score it? So if you recall, you had 5 demographic questions, 20 questions that had right and wrong answers that could be graded, and then 5 opinion types of questions. So you would write about that in this section. My advice to you is to go into your Qualtrics account. You'll have to push some buttons around, but Qualtrics does have an instrument library, and they have hundreds of already made instruments. So and a lot of them are related to employees. Some of them are related to customer service. I've got a couple of things that are coming in. Oh, someone said that the meeting next Wednesday is at 11:30. Is that for the summer interns? Can someone confirm?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So if you're planning on interning this summer, you should have gotten an email with a Zoom invitation to a meeting next Wednesday at 11:30. If you're interning in the fall, you should have also gotten another email. I want to say the after one starts at 2:30. I could find out I'm going to be a part of that, but I don't have my calendar here where I wrote it down. And then another question, someone said, do we just leave data section out then? So yeah, if you look at these instructions, nowhere on there is there anything about the results section. So what you turned into me after spring break had participant, instrument, and results because you had collected data. What you're doing for me here is you're proposing to do data collection. You're not actually collecting data. So yes, there is no result section. And so you don't make up data in your result section. Okay? Questions though about the instrument. You do need to include your instrument after your references. So let me see if I can find that. Let me find it here.
Can we create our own instrument?
The best thing to do is to find one that's already been made. And again, I would suggest trying to find something in Qualtrics. So like here's one, and I don't know where this came from, and you're not going to be able to see it exactly, but you can see that it has some questions on there. And the title of it is Improving Staff Communication. And so here is this person's references. And then they had a page in here that just says Appendix A. And then the next page is their actual instrument. So some research journal articles will have instruments in them, but our students have been really, really effective in finding those through the Qualtrics library because there are all types of questions. If you tell me that you are going to be, you're going to be doing something similar to what the example that I gave, which is fully face-to-face training versus hybrid training, that's going to require a knowledge test. So you would have to make that up, and you would have to base it on some training that you would be teaching because you would need something to actually grade to say these people averaged 8 out of 10 in the 4-day fully face-to-face, and these people averaged 7.5 on their knowledge out of 10 for the hybrid. And again, I'm just making up numbers. You're not going to do that. But does that make sense?
So
Any questions on the?
We could use Qualtrics website for the instrument library as like a reference, or actually?
That would be your survey. And then yes, you would reference it.
Okay, so we could actually take one of their instruments and use that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm telling you is you have to have an instrument section in your proposal, and you have to show me the instrument that you're proposing to use.
Okay.
What I'm saying is a good place to find your instrument is in Qualtrics because they have a lot of them. And a lot of them are related to employee types of things. So communication, training, just go in there and find them. And I would say use one of these, and then yes, you would reference it. And we'll come to that in just a minute.
So we don't have to like change or edit anything. We would just use it as a reference. It's good as is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what you'll see, I know from experience. So let's say that we were talking about communication. The Qualtrics company, the Qualtrics survey might say in the instructions, the purpose of this survey is to investigate quality communication at, and then it'll have a bracket and it says your company. And it's meant for you to fill that in. So if you want to use something about communication, find that on Qualtrics, and then you would say, the purpose of this research is to investigate quality communication at American Airlines. So you could, I think that's what you're asking is, if you find one, you should modify it to meet your needs, and the answer is yes.
Okay.
So it's better not to turn something in that just says my company, but to turn something in that says American Airlines, if that's where you would like to be.
Okay.
So would we still write the paragraph on the instrument and then include what the actual instrument is, like at the back, or where would you want that?
Yeah. So here's the proposal I'm showing you. Here is their instrument section. So,
Okay.
Quantitative, methodology, participants, and here's the instrument.
Okay.
So again, think back to the instrument section you've already written me.
Mm-hmm.
Go to that. Name of it. What's the reference? What does it measure? How do you score it? What does the score mean? Interpret the score. What is the format of the questions? Oh, you guys did something about, what did you guys do? I can't remember. Alcoholism and
Bench drink or
dueling.
e-cigarettes, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so your instrument actually had those knowledge questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you wrote for me was there were 10 questions about juuling, there were 10 questions about alcohol consumption. Each was graded. They were marked right or wrong. Higher scores indicated more knowledge. Lower scores indicated less knowledge about da 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 da. So depending on what instrument you find, which will depend on the topic you're talking about, how you write this will be a little bit different.
So you don't want us to include the actual instrument, right?
No, I do.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just confused as where you want that in the paper itself.
Okay, let me show you again. Here's the references.
Okay.
Here's the references. And then this person actually had a blank page that says Appendix 1. And then it's in here. Yeah, it's just at the end.
Well,
you don't put it in the body of the
Yeah. I just didn't know where specifically, because you're switching between two different packets. That's why I got confused.
Yeah. So write yourself a note.
Okay.
Make sure that what I don't want you to do, don't give me the link to Qualtrics.
Okay.
Give me copy and paste it into Word so that when I won't print these off, but as I scroll through your paper, I will see the instrument.
So put it at the very, very end of the paper after the references page?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go through the whole thing.
Example?
Pardon?
Will we have access to an example, or is it just like making a mental note now?
I would just be taking notes. I mean, if we were in class, I can show you these, but I don't really feel like I can post these because this is other student work. So I kind of can't do that. But you can ask questions between now and next week, and we'll neither do.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to put this online so that you can watch it again.
Okay, perfect. And also, sorry, not to get a little off topic, but if we did not receive an email for the internship meeting on Wednesday, should we shoot it?
That's a good question. No. That's actually a good question. They only sent it out to the people who actually had registered for the internship.
Yeah.
So if you haven't registered for it, we don't know.
I have registered for the internship.
So get in there and register. And I think open registration started back up yesterday.
Yeah, I actually registered yesterday, so I don't know if it just they haven't seen it yet, or if I should email saying
I think they sent it out last week so that people would know what's going on, but I've already told them that they need to resend that back out.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So they're monitoring who had and hadn't registered. But if you're planning on doing it this summer, register so that you'll be getting all the updated information for sure.
Yeah,
I have the code, so I can put it in the chat box if you want it, just in case they don't send you the email, if you want me to.
Okay, yeah, sure, thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. The next section is the procedure section. So quantitative methodology gets centered. Participants is left justified, then your information about participants. Instrument is left justified, then your information about the instrument. procedures left justified, and then your procedures. I know that this is something that you did not write for me, so I would use the G article because he does have a procedure section. But this section is, how are you actually going to propose to give out your instrument? So he talks about how he recruited people, how he actually gave them the instrument. I mean, gave them the paper and pencil test. So, you know, your procedures may involve you saying, I will email a link to the Qualtrics survey to my participants. The way that I explain this to people is that think about it's you telling someone how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So go to the pantry, get out the bread and the peanut butter. Go to the refrigerator and get out the jelly. Go to the cabinet and get out a plate. Open up the bread and put 2 pieces of paper, pieces of bread on the plate, and open them up. Take a knife, open up the jar of peanut. I mean, I don't need to tell you how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but I think if you read the G article, it will walk you through some procedures. Okay.
So you're basically telling them how to do.
How are you actually going to collect this data?
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll quit talking. So you've got participants, instrument, procedures, all under that quantitative methodology. And again, from introduction all the way through where we are right now and continuing on, it's just one continuous flow of typing. There's no extra spaces, nothing like that. Okay, so let me hold this up again. So this is our quantitative methodology, participants, instrument. This person's instrument section had 2 lines at the top of the next page, and now here are their procedures. And then you can see here's the procedures section. Okay, after that is the next heading, which is qualitative methodology. And again, you can refer back to your instructions. I want you to propose to use 2 of the 3 methods of collecting qualitative data. So that could be interviews, observation, or document analysis. You get to select which of those you think would be most suited depending on your question. I can help you, but I can't help you today because I don't need to answer 20 different people's questions, but shoot me an email, tell me what your question is, tell me what you're thinking about using, and then we'll go from there.
Dr. Sandlin,
as a reminder, document analysis is just having someone reading information about your topic.
did you say to choose 2 at least, or?
2 of the 3. Yeah. And if you look at the instructions, it says that. So qualitative methodology is a heading right up underneath procedure, and then you must choose 2 of the 3 qualitative methods. So again, here is this person's procedure. Here is their qualitative methodology heading, and they chose to do an observation and an interview. So depending on which of those things that you decide is better for you, you will then talk about your observation, your interview, or your document analysis. And again, it's just 2 of the 3. My suggestion is to go back to the instructions for observation and interview and make your method section look like those sections that I gave you, just go back and look in eCampus. So not surprisingly, if you're going to observe, you're going to tell me what you're going to observe, where you're going to go to observe it, what you're looking for, you know, approximately how long do you think it will take you to, you know, get field notes. If you're going to interview, who are you going to interview? Why are you interviewing them? And then notice on the instructions, you do need to include 8 to 10 questions that you would ask in an interview. So again, let me go do this. Oops, that's not that one. So here is this person's instrument. I'm going to go to the next page of the appendix, and then here is their list of interview questions. And again, a minimum of 8 to 10 questions that you would ask. So you can put these in the appendix. Some students actually just put them in that section under where they talk about who they're going to interview and why they're interviewing them. So questions about that?
The 8 to 10 questions would only be if you conducted an interview, correct? Out of the two of the three
Correct.
options?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted
Yep.
to clarify on
Yep.
that,
So
make sure I wasn't writing anything extra.
No, yep. So you can say you're going to do an observation and a document analysis. So again, you would go back and talk about what are you going to observe, who you're going to observe, where are you going to observe, what are you looking for. So again, go back to the instructions for the observation that I gave you, because that can, you know, you can use some of the verbiage there. And then if you're going to have them do a document analysis, you can say, you know, participants will review employee handbook and minutes from committee meetings. And depending, you know, I'm just kind of making stuff up, but, you know, depending on what you're looking at, they can review newspaper articles or magazine articles, or, I mean, there's, you know, what the information on the website. So there's a lot of different things that you potentially could have someone do a document analysis of.
Okay.
So the example, one of the examples I've been giving you, again, qualitative methodology, observation, interview, and then again, these paragraphs are just related to who they're interviewing. And I think this person, it was actually kind of a nice proposal. So I think I've used it so much that the stuff fell off the back with their instrument and their interview questions. But again, I'll just start with this person's references. Let me go back. So actually, this is wrong way. For this one, this was the end of their qualitative stuff. So it ended up on like 2 lines on the last page. And then it went to references, which we'll talk about in just a minute. And then Appendix 1 was the instrument. There's the instrument. Appendix 2 was the interview questions. And there are their questions. And that's the last page.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll answer any more questions in just a minute. But the last thing that is on the instruction sheet is references. References do start on a new page. References is centered, and then your APA alphabetical list of the references that you used. Do I need to talk a little bit about good references versus bad references? You know, website may be related to the company. Website may be related to things you got from professional organizations. But then I would expect some research journal articles. So if you're doing training and development, find some training and development articles. If you're doing onboarding, find that. If you're doing recruiting, find that. So, all right. Let me stop there and just entertain big questions for the greater good.
I have a question about the qualitative methodology. So put qualitative methodology, center justified, and then we do a subheading with 2 out of our 3. You go straight into a subheading.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So just qualitative methodology, double space, observation is left justified, and then you're writing that paragraph.
Around how long is the entire paper?
All right, so the one I'm looking at has a title page. I don't care if you have that or not. Then abstract, introduction, quantitative methodology with a little on the next page, qualitative methodology with a little on the next page, references, and then this person put, had 2 appendices, one for the quantitative data collection and one for their questions. So I didn't really count. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because a little bit went on to the second. So 6 pages, including the abstract, and then the references, and then, you know, the instruments and the questions. So I don't know, how many, was that about 8 pages, something like that? You know, and I think if you're, you know, like once you get into the procedures part, each of those paragraphs is, I would say, no less than 5 sentences to describe who you're going to observe and where you're going to observe and where you're going to look for, etc. Did that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Question that's kind of
go ahead.
It's kind of like a little off topic, but like with the class being writing intensive, how does pass fail work? Like hypothetically speaking, if we had points to pass, like would we be good on skipping out an assignment or something? Or
yeah, don't do that. I'll be mad at you if you skip assignment.
Okay.
I won't pass you. Yeah, don't do that.
Okay.
That's cheesy. That's not like an Aggie. That is not Aggie-like.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, good question. Don't make me hunt you down.
Yeah, I also have a question that's kind of off topic also. I think I asked this last time, but I just want to make sure. For the intent to intern form, we don't have to fill that out if we're not doing it remotely, right? If we're not doing our internship remotely, that form does not need to be filled out, correct?
I think they waive all intent to intern forms. There's no intent to intern form anymore. It's just learning agreements and stuff is what I heard from Rhonda.
So that form that's on the UConnect, where it's like the fill in the blank stuff, you know, that she talked about in the meeting.
The learning agreement, yeah.
Do we need to do that?
Yes.
I'm about to talk to her right after this, so I can always just send something, or I can, you know.
Send me an email, and then I'll shoot it to everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm like, if I'm just working and doing the alternative, I mean, is there really any point in providing that
learning agreement?
Okay, let me answer that.
Okay.
So the 2 options for this summer are you do the alternative internship or you do a remote internship.
Yeah.
That's the only that's the only things you can do.
Yeah.
What you're doing outside of that, we don't need to know about.
Okay.
So if I hear you right, you may actually try to go work at the place where you wanted to do the internship, because the university says we cannot allow you to get course credit for a face-to-face something.
Yeah.
These are the only things we need to know about.
Okay.
Go do that if you want to. That's great. That's fine. That's up to you. But we don't need to know about that.
Okay.
And we don't. It's not that we don't need to. We don't want to. I mean.
Yeah.
Keep it separate.
Okay.
Then we all just get confused.
So the learning agreement does not need to be filled out, or it does need to be filled out?
You might want to email Rhonda and ask her to see if you're doing the alternative to count as the class credit.
Oh my god, that was a huge bug. I'm so sorry. Go on.
High jump.
Oh my gosh, did y'all see how big that thing was?
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna play it back in slow-mo in a minute.
Oh, my God. Oh, it's still right there. Oh my God, I'm so
So, Bobby, if you can just ask her this, ask two questions. What do you need to do if you do have a remote internship, and what do you need to do if you're going to do the alternative internship? Let's just
Okay.
ask that if you can, or shoot me an email, and then I will let everyone know.
Thank you. Oh my God, I have
Yep.
TV movies. Ugh.
Okay, so what do I need to do for a remote internship, and what do I need to do for the alternative?
Yes.
Essentially, do you need the learning agreement if you're going to do the alternative?
Okay.
I can pretty much tell you if you're going to do a remote internship and have a supervisor, you're going to have to do that learning agreement. I just don't know if she's going to have you do that for the alternate thing.
Okay. I got it written down. I'll make sure to ask her, and then I'll shoot you an email.
Perfect. And I'll, whenever I get that today or in the morning, it's fine.
Okay.
Other questions about the proposal or the research on jobs? There's a pretty good chance, y'all don't be haters, that I'm going to be driving to Colorado next Tuesday. So I may not really be available much on Tuesday in terms of answering emails. If you get to Tuesday or Wednesday, well, Wednesday is going to be kind of full with those other Zooms. But if we need to do this again next Thursday in anticipation of you turning this stuff in on Friday, we can do another Zoom on Thursday. I probably will not take a lot of this stuff. Well, I don't know. Maybe I will, because I'm going to have an online class this summer. So maybe I will just take some of this stuff with me to show summer students.
So we could potentially have 3 appendixes. The instrument, interview questions, observation
interview
note?
questions, and no, because you're not going to actually do any observation notes.
Oh, okay.
So remember, everybody, you're not collecting this data. There's no results section. There's no actual observation. There's no actual interview. You're just going to tell me what you're proposing to do.
Okay.
Helpful?
Yes.
Helpful to be here?
I don't think I'm gonna sit outside again.
I'm gonna back this up, get my phone out, take a video of you jumping and put it on Facebook.
Oh my God, I'd love to see it, because that thing, y'all should have saw it. It came like from this way.
You got attacked. Funny things that happen during Zoom meetings.
Y'all are welcome
in the pandemic.
to entertainment. That would happen to me.
Oh, and I posted the internship meeting. I think someone was the code for it. I think someone needed it.
Can everybody see that in the chat?
I don't think so. I think it's
You don't need
only you can see it, Sandra.
Okay. Do I need to put this in the class?
Yes.
I can't see it, but
okay. I'll just make sure that they go back and that you get information about those meetings. But the main thing is you have to sign up for the internship. That's who those have been sent out to. So my understanding is that you guys probably registered a while back, but then open registration started again yesterday. So be sure that you do that. Is everybody registered if you're planning on doing it this summer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Dr. Sandlin, do you have any updates for the grad school program?
They have started sending out interest things to the people who will graduate this semester, who are doing internships now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they're going to do is gauge that judgment, and then they're going to circle back to like the 490 classes, the people who are doing their internships this summer, and then start looking at GPAs. So I don't think they're gonna, I think they're gonna try to start with the 3.0 and higher students, because that's gonna be the people who are most likely to get in, and then kind of go from there. But that doesn't necessarily exclude you if you're not in that GPA, but just looking at faces here or names here, a lot of you would be in that.
So
but I would say
time in the
mid-May, if you haven't heard anything, reach back out to me. Because I know that the first email went out to some students, and I specifically asked, could I send it out to you guys? And they said, hold off. They have and I don't guess I was part of that, but they have sort of a step-by-step process. They're going to roll that out.
Okay, so mid-May.
Start.
Pardon?
When does this program usually start? Like, is it something that starts in the fall or the spring, relatively?
Well, we do have summer school, and that is actually one of the questions that is on the questionnaire. For you guys, though, it would have to be in the fall, because you're doing internships this summer and graduating in August. So I think that's why they're starting with the group that's finishing in the spring, and then trying to figure out if they want to start in the summer or wait till the fall, and then they're going to circle back around to you guys.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you, Linda, for your, so that I'll just make sure that Brent and Dr. Fowler send something back out to everybody so that we hit everybody.
Dr. Sandlin, I don't know
Alrighty.
if you know something like this, but have you heard anything about Aggie rings?
I haven't.
It'll be mailed
anyone
to you.
else?
It'll be mailed to you.
Yeah,
Mail.
I was just wondering
We know
if
that, we just don't know when.
the Association of Former Students was going to open back up or something like that.
Oh.
Okay.
So
I don't think so, because they're postponing. I don't think so, because they're postponing graduation for May to the summer. So I think if anything, they'll probably cancel that to in person. So.
Well, I'll be here in the fall, so if you need to come do a ring dunk, you can invite me, and I'll drag my husband with me.
Okay.
We probably will not partake in the beer guzzling, but we'll take pictures.
Okay.
All righty, gang. I've got to get to a doctor's appointment today. My hip doctor's office opened back up, so I get to go see him for my actual 6-month checkup for hip replacement surgery. Woo-hoo.
Would you mind
thank
staying on for one extra second? I just have a really quick question.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. So I'm gonna. I don't know if I have time to do this today, but I will. This is being recorded, and I'm going to let it. It'll save it, and so eventually this will make its way onto or into. And I'll just put it in the week 14 stuff.
Great.
So if you want to go back and look at it. What's that?
It's great. You'll hear me screaming like a little girl.
Oh.
Go back and watch it, because I could.
All right, guys. Have a good afternoon. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. Let me know if we need to Zoom next week.
Dr. Sandlin?
Yeah.
I also have a quick question, but after she asks her question first.
Well, she said something that well, no. Go ahead.
Sorry, me.
Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I was just wondering when the due date is for the honors paper.
Can you do it? I mean, even that first Monday of finals week. I don't know what the date is. 1, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Like, is that the 4th or the 5th?
Let me.
5th is that Monday.
May 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, because I start teaching another section of this right after finals finish, so I'm going to need to get my grades done right as classes are over, because I start teaching and soon.
Okay, yeah, I can do it by May 5th. No worries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, Nayo, you got something?
Yes. So for the analysis part, it said that I can include quotes from the book to provide examples,
Uh-huh.
and I was wondering if that's okay, or do you want me to or do you want me to paraphrase the quotes?
I think if you look at the instructions, it says that you can do either. So I will just leave that up to you. I mean, the thing that I said in the meeting the other day about this is I don't want, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, because I don't want pages and pages of just big giant block quotes, because I really want the paper to be you.
Okay.
So does that make sense? I mean, I'm not opposed to like one like that or something, but just
Okay,
not just not like quote after quote after quote after quote.
Yeah,
so
because
that
I only have like 4 quotes right here in the example, so I'm gonna change them to paraphrase. And I include the page numbers, but do you want me to reference the authors and the year it was published instead of the page numbers, or include the page numbers?
if you quote it, it's author, year, page number. If you paraphrase it, it's just author and year.
Okay, perfect.
So you only give page numbers if it's a quote.
Okay, perfect. And you just want me to, like, when I paraphrase it, do you want me to explain like that, or just keep it as it is for the examples?
I'm not sure what you mean explain it.
So for the analysis, like after I provided the examples, like how it relates to
So I think I would probably lead in with some sort of explanation and then give your
like a sentence.
And then what you're providing in the paraphrasing is the evidence to support that statement.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Have a good day. Take care.
You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.